予選
Hello everybody, it's episode 24 of Shack Out Back. It's me, Jim, and the other one is...
Me, Danny. 24. That's a lot.
That's, I think we can almost rent a car now in the States. I think the car age is 25 or some shit like that.
You can rent a car, but it'll be a lot more expensive. That's what me and Cass just did. If you're 25 and up, it goes down for some inexplicable reason.
Next episode, we're renting a Toyota Prius and going on a podcast Manitoba road trip.
That'd be sick. We'll have to do an episode when we go on a road trip somewhere.
On the road again.
Yeah.
So what are we up to this episode, Dan? We're talking about the Wolf Brigade.
We're talking about Jin-Roh, the Wolf Brigade, a 1999 anime film by Oshii.
It's very good. But we'll talk about that later.
Yes, as usual, let's discuss the stuff we've been up to, because it has been an exciting... This is an early record, because
an exciting 6 days.
The by 6 day breakdown, because I'm leaving for a trip. Me and my girlfriend are going to Canmore, so we have to record real early.
Get it up. So by the time you hear this, we might be dead.
Yes. Actually, true.
Dan might have been murdered by the hook-handed killer in the steppes of Alberta.
Ain't that the truth? I've got a delicious glass of Mio beside me.
I have a little port wine glass full of port wine.
I heard you open up a cork to something before we started, and I was wondering. This
is the end of my port wine. I've had one, and this is my second.
Delicious. What's the percentage?
This is a fine Ruby Porto, a Sandeman Portugal Porto, and it's 20%.
Wowie kazowie.
Yes. So, do you want to go first in the by 6 day breakdown?
Nah, you go first. Tell me, what is...
Jim last name? Jim last name watched every Jurassic Park movie.
You did? When?
Yeah.
You
the last 6 days. Do you want me to say what the worst one is? If
Even
you had to guess.
Okay, the worst one is the newest one.
No, there's 3 old ones and 2 new ones.
Yeah, the worst one is by far the brand newest one, where they're in the mansion.
It's not, bro.
What is it?
It's the second one.
No, it is not.
That movie fucking sucks.
What happens? Tell me what happens in it.
There's one good scene where the guy from James the Giant Peach and the name of my father, he like has a safari with a bunch of dinosaurs, but that's about it. Every other performance is phoned in. Jeff Goldblum, the lady from I'm blanking on everyone's name. Anyway, the performances aren't good. It has a bad script, shitty movie.
Okay, what's the best one?
Number 1.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, it's Jurassic Park 2, the one where it's the little kids and they're up in the tree and they're like in the half Jeep or plane or some shit.
I have no idea. The second one is about Jeff Goldblum goes back to like a different island with
different
dinosaurs with his daughter and Julianne Moore, that's who it was. And they just like trape around with Vince Vaughn in the frickin' like jungle, and then the last 20 minutes a T-Rex gets loose in New York, and that's the best part of the movie. The rest of it sucks.
Yeah, I remember. So what do you think about the newest movies real quick?
I like the first one fine. I think it's a little bit like kind of generic-y movie-y.
Jim, they go back to the island again.
Oh, you mean the second one? Yeah, that one's not good, but it's better than the second one.
Fucking horrendous.
I think in terms of quality, it's like number 1, number 3, 2015, 2019, wherever the fuck it is, and then number 2. That movie sucks.
You think 2's that bad? No, not in my opinion.
I also watched a movie called I'm Still Here, starring Joaquin Phoenix, directed by Casey Affleck. It's not a good movie. This is
the better Joker, I thought.
No, that's a different movie. That's You Were Never Really Here. This is I'm Still Here. I'm Still Here is a movie that's like a mockumentary where Joaquin Phoenix played up a character for a year, where he pretended that he was quitting acting and starting a rap career, and like the story of how the movie was made was much better than the movie. Like the movie's borderline unwatchable. Like I didn't hate it, but it's like it's kind of like the same scene over and over again. So the story around it's much better. I've been playing Metro Exodus the last 2 days, but I've put like 4 hours in. It's very good. If you're hearing this, they might not still be on sale, but they are on sale right now, the Metro games. I would recommend all of them. Metro Exodus is pretty fun.
Yeah, I've played... There's 3, right? It's Last Light, or is there just 2?
2033, Last Light,
That's
and Exodus.
I always forget 2033 isn't Last Light, because they did something weird. They, released all those games, then, re-released all of them again.
No, they didn't. They re-released 2033 and Last Light's engine. That's what they did.
Redux, that's what it's called, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I've played. I think I played the original 2033, and then I was like, holy fuck, this is a difficult game, because I was, too young to understand what it was, because it's not, a standard shooting game.
I've been reading Lonesome Dove again, which is a big cowboy book. It's very... it's not like, explain to me what, you think, an old Western would be like.
I think it's a big bandito, and he's going to rob a town with his gang of banditos, and there's a guy that's got to protect the town, and they have a duel hat in the middle of the town, and he got a bunch of bullets in his socks.
This book is not like that at all. It's very, gratuitous and kind of gross, and it's very gritty, and it's actually, I'm surprised they made it into a movie, but they did. They must have changed a lot, because it's a lot of, talking about fucking a lot. And just horrible shit happening the whole time. There's a scene where they're just so the whole thing is there's a big cattle drive to Montana from Texas, and the cowboys are just riding around, and a kid rides his horse into a fucking pack of water snakes and dies horribly. Just bloats up, and his blood starts leaking out of every orifice in his body. He just dies like that.
That sounds exciting. That sounds like a calm death.
And then I've been moving. I've been prepping for moving.
Yes.
I was telling Dan that I've been taking my posters off the walls, and everything looks really bare around here now.
Jim, you keep on saying things such as, when I leave the house, I'm going to burn it down so no one else can live in it, and things like that. I'm
going to burn and salt the earth with my grandmother in it.
Yeah.
No, moving's weird. I've lived my whole life in this house, so it's going to be strange. I painted a table today. I scraped rust off a table and painted it to make an L desk. I'm very excited. I'm being proactive. I'm trying to get stuff done.
Getting it all already. Yeah, that was how I felt when we moved, because I lived in that house prior to this apartment for all my life. Felt kind of weird.
Anyway, what have you been up to in the last 6 days, Dan?
What have I been up to? I have been...
I don't want to hear about how much you hate work, because that's all you've been talking about.
No, I like work.
You've been sick, dude. Fuck, I'm just sitting here thinking about Canmore. Jesus.
No, it's good. Today was my last day. It was just kind of chill. I just watched Red Letter Media videos all day.
Wish I had a job like that.
It's so sick. I'm just there alone. I'm a property manager. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of Persona 4. I've been enjoying that a hell ton.
I went over to Dan's house for Gloomhaven. We played that, and Dan was playing Persona 4, and he had to he was a little kid playing Pokemon. He's like, I have to finish this day, I have to finish this battle before I have to save.
Yeah, it's a hell of fun. I've been enjoying it a ton. I'm excited to maybe play Persona 5 somehow, or do something else with the series.
Shouldn't have sold your PS4, bro.
Fuck that. I'm glad I did. The only game I ever played was Bloodborne. Yeah, I wanted to talk about Gloomhaven. We got the Gloomhaven group. That's a tongue twister. We got the Gloomhaven group back together. We hadn't played in a few months just due to COVID and not really making the effort to get back together. But I've been enthralled with that game again. I've been looking up rules about it and looking up Frosthaven.
Looking up 3D prints.
Yes, I've been looking up. Yeah, if you don't know what Gloomhaven is, it's one of the biggest board games of the last 20 years. It's constantly within the top 5-10 best games on Board Game Geek. It's a huge legacy game. It's massive. It lasts we're playing a standalone game, but the original Gloomhaven lasts 50 to 100 hours, I've heard, easily, if not more. But, yeah, you kind of pick a character. It's a deck builder. It's really fucking good. If you're that big into board games and have a dedicated group, it's amazing, in my opinion.
We've talked about it before, too.
Yeah, I'm just enthralled with it, though. I've been looking at the new game that's coming out, and the characters for that are leaked so far and, talked about, and all the little stuff. And, yeah, I'm looking at ordering some 3D prints to make it fancy. Been having a good time.
Anything else?
Not too much. Been just kind of packing for Canmore, doing a lot of that stuff. Just getting ready, making an itinerary.
We've both been in transit the last 6 days. We haven't done much. I guess I watched all the Jurassic Park movies.
That's a lot.
That's true. So, we want to launch into our topic. So, you're the master of this, Dan. It's your topic, so you kind of give the background on this, because I didn't look anything up.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I was briefly telling you I did. I made some notes today, because this movie captivated me. I was thinking about it. I caught myself thinking about it yesterday, and I watched half of the English dub, And I just caught myself thinking about it. I watched some YouTube videos. So we're talking about Jin-Roh, the Wolf Brigade. It is a 1999 animated film about, I guess it's a
political intrigue.
Yeah, it's not what you'd expect, which I wanted to touch on the reviews too, because they're atrocious, and it makes me mad, because this film's a masterpiece in my opinion. It's very good.
It's a very beautiful movie.
So it follows a different timeline, Japan, where they lose the war still, but the Germans win instead of the Allies winning, so Germany occupies Japan after. So it's a lot of, you kept pointing it out actually, lots of the cars and the guns and stuff, and you kept, Jim, throughout this whole movie, when is this taking place? What is the...
I determined it was either the mid-50s to 1960, because they had, like, Soviet-era cars. See, here's the thing about anime, right? They always... I think less or so with this movie, because they picked stuff that was kind of applicable to their alternate timeline. But they just pick stuff that's cool, right? If they see a cool design or a cool gun or something, they just throw it in their anime. But I was seeing, like, Trabants, like cotton cars from the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And I was seeing, like, Russian submachine guns for World War II and British submachine guns for World War II. All the resistance members were using, like, Allied and Russian guns. Mm-hmm. And all the, like, police and shit were using, like, Stormgewehrs and MP40s and all this, like all the German stuff. So it was a very interesting choice.
It was an immense amount of just straight world building, and I'll touch on that because it's crazy to me. Like, I watched it again in English, most of it anyways, and they had specific credits for weapon designers and vehicle designers. So
they told a lot with the
world.
Yes, there isn't a lot of dialogue in this film that's like explanatory. No. They did a lot with, like, world design, character design, set design, cinematography, like that stuff was used to a great extent in this movie.
Yeah, so to touch on it real quick, it's about that. So after this, Japan is like full steam ahead onto economic growth, so they start a bunch of stuff like that, but there's a lot of citizens that are revolting against the government, and the police has it too hard, so they institute a militarized police unit that is in Central City. I guess it'd be Japan in this case. I don't know
Tokyo.
If they ever say Tokyo, yeah.
Well, they talk about people being Shibuya. That's
yes,
what they talk
true.
About
you are.
In the movie. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a militarized police force that works with the normal police. They don't have as much jurisdiction because the citizens then start revolting directly against them because it's they're like the one true power essentially. They have a lot more firepower than normal police, and they're constantly there to break up anything.
And they have armor.
They have armor and
NASA gassed armor.
They talk about it more in the manga and in the books that I've looked at, but it was essentially a Judge Dredd type of scenario that they are...
Judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah, they don't need anyone to break up syndicates. They'll just do it themselves, which was another huge thing, I guess.
They act outside the arm of, like...
normal police forces, yeah. So, very interesting premise. And did you feel like when we started this movie that we were jumping into the middle of a series or franchise that we never had heard of or anything, or did you kind of feel like it worked together?
I kind of had the inclination before you said something about it. Like I was thinking like, oh, maybe there's a manga series or something, because it's such a striking film. Like it has such a good sense of place and time.
It feels like they've put time into it.
Yeah, it seemed like it was building on something. Whether that was a lot of work just put into this movie or something else, I knew it was something like that.
So what if I told you that there are 26 other pieces of media made in this universe?
Jesus Christ!
This is the third film technically in this world.
Are they all movies, or they're like series or live action movies?
They're a lot of shit. They're like a ton of stuff. So the first film was called, and a lot of this isn't in English, so a lot of those loose translations. This never really made it to the West popularity-wise. This is the biggest one out of any of them by far, like this animated movie. But Jin-Roh's the third film in this. It's called the Kerberos Saga, and the Kerberos is the unit that they're in the movie, like that Fuse is in.
What are they called? The
Wolf Brigade, kind of.
Wolf Brigade, yeah.
Yeah. Kerberos is the actual squad of that police force that is getting separated. But it's mostly based off manga. But yeah, there's 26 other pieces of media made. So it's a lot of stuff you wouldn't expect because it's such an old franchise. there's a shit ton of radio dramas and like Korean live action films and Japanese films, and there's a bunch of plays even.
Plays?
Yeah, like there's a bunch of like screenplays and like live action plays, like Grand Theater-esque shit. Like
That'd be fun.
There's a ton of shit. So the first movie was called The Red Spectacles because of
The Red Spectacles. That's a loose translation.
The red gaze, right? For the suits.
Yeah.
That's why.
I think that this movie's very striking, and I think that like something like the NCR uniform in Fallout New Vegas, like the riot gear, definitely took some like inspiration from this. And what are they called in Killzone?
You're going to talk about, that's what I was going to talk about too. The Hellgast?
Hellgast, that's what they're called.
I don't know why my brain has a function for remembering what those things are called. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Hellgast. I was looking at all that stuff too, and it's enough of a similarity, because like their outfit it's very uniquely designed, but it's not out of the realm of someone else having the same idea. Big, huge eyepieces and funnels going up to the mouth.
Well, I think that this design from the Wolf Brigade was taken from... Well, it looks like... the helmet looks like something that a stormtrooper would wear in World War II. So I think that's where probably the base they started with, and they kind of like built down from that, yeah.
German-esque outfits and stuff like that. Same with the rank and file that this movie uses. It's a lot of... platoons and stuff that are from war. It's very interesting. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the Hellgasts are actually based on these guys, which is very interesting, because obviously Killzone was I believe, Japanese-made franchise first before it was translated.
Killzone was?
I believe so, yeah. I believe Killzone was made by Sony in Japan originally.
Oh, really? I know it came out in the PS2 first, and then another studio took it over. I didn't know.
Talking about Killzone for a sec, I fucking love Killzone.
I've only played Killzone Mercenary on the PS Vita.
Really?
Yeah. I have all the games except Shadowfall, but yeah, I have not played them yet.
Killzone's so good. Everyone go play Killzone right now. The servers are all offline, just go play them still.
I think the Resistance servers are still up.
Resistance being the game Resistance?
Yes. I think that Sony has a big like room full of servers that are just like continuously running, because the servers for fucking like Call of Duty and Killzone Mercenary still are on the Vita.
That's fucked.
Like, you can still play that game online.
Huh. That's fucking wild. But yeah.
What I wanted to ask you was, have you seen a lot of political thrillers in line with this kind of movie?
I do not think so. Usually that's not my wheelhouse for movies. And talking about the reviews for this movie really quickly, they're very favorable with people who are actually knowledgeable in like anime films and stuff. Mm-hmm. But they're not very favorable at all with, like, general critics.
This didn't remind me a lot of anime movies. It reminded me of, like, The Manchurian Candidate or Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Like, stuff like that. Like, stuff that's, like, very heady, but, like, intellectual with air quote movies that people consider them, right?
Yeah.
And the art style's so different than any other anime I've seen, because their faces, like... You know how you watch anime? And we talked about this. Where you watch, like... My Neighbor Totoro, and they look like fucking potato people. But they're cute, they have a design, but like these people looked Japanese. They didn't look like
different.
Anime
Every
characters.
Every single person looked different.
Yeah, they had like very distinct character designs that looked Japanese. Like they looked like Japanese people.
I brought that up, yeah. So many times, like, in all the shonens mostly, because shonen more appeals, they try and appeal to the widest audience, like Naruto and stuff.
Yes.
They look like whatever race, they just look like white people. They don't look Japanese, and it's very rare to see an anime or manga where it's like those are actually like Japanese people. Cowboy Bebop's another good example. Cowboy Bebop looks like they're like different ethnicities. They don't just all look like white people.
There's like black people and there's Asian people too, but the main cast is white, I think.
Jim discusses the races of the world.
Well, you know, I think that for something like Cowboy Bebop, it was just like a good thing to use because they've basically shown that like all these different people and races are spreading out into the galaxy and doing different things, right?
Yeah. So what the hell were we talking about before this? Just talking about character design.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that I noticed about this movie was it's very rare to see it, but it focused on eye movements a ton, and it made it really, really interesting to watch. When one of the first scenes when they were backed up into the tunnels under Japan, and it just focused on one of the dude's eyes. He was like darting back and forth, looking at all the holes in the walls and everything, and he was looking above him and looking at his gun really quickly. It was very interesting to see. It was very tense and stressful. It didn't just show him being stressed, but it shows what a normal person does as well, darting all around ready for anything.
Realistic, right?
Yes.
Like they tried to be realistic with their animation.
Yeah, it's insane, and I guess that's what this director's known for. He actually made Ghost in the Shell 1 and 2. He was one of the main animators on it, so it makes sense.
I have not seen that.
Really? We'll have to do that. Have you seen the live-action one with what's-her-name?
With Scarlett Johansson? No.
Is that her? Are you sure? Or is it Angelina Jolie? I thought it was one of those.
No, it's Scarlett Johansson, yeah.
Isn't she Black Widow or some shit? Is that the same person?
Yes.
Damn. We'll have to watch Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell is good as hell. But yeah, so the reviews for this movie are not favorable.
Yeah, explain. Like, do you have some? Like, give me some.
Yeah. So if you watched a trailer for this movie or saw them, you'd be like, big, huge soldier dudes. Like this, the military police are intimidating. They're huge dudes in full body armor. You can't see any facial features. They have red glowing eyes, and they carry like
LMGs, yeah.
Yeah, LMGs on their arm, just shredding people apart.
They have a backpack. That was one of my favorite parts of the design. When at the end, when he was like killing dudes, he was like, he had this LMG that was belt fed, and they had this huge backpack. And I'm like, what the fuck is the huge backpack for? Just to look cool? And the whole huge backpack was like a Laffy Taffy, like he'd pull another like another belt of fucking ammo out of it, shove it in the LMG, cool. And just start shooting more guys. It was so cool.
Yeah, so if you watch a trailer for this movie or see that imagery, you're like, it's going to be a action-y war type of movie. They're going to be fighting people. And I think there is 2 fights. I think it's at the start and at the end.
At the end, yeah.
It's a very deliberate movie. There's not a lot of action in it. It's a lot of awkward, tense moments and just discovering what's wrong with the city and what's happening to people and political intrigue, like you were saying.
Yes.
And a lot of the reviews mention that. A lot of the reviews by people who I would not like in real life give it 1 star or whatever. This movie was boring, had to turn it off halfway through. Imagery is completely wrong. Shit like that.
Those are the people, right? And I'm not shaming anyone. Maybe I'm shaming them a little bit. But those are the people who go on Webtoons and they pick my big fat nerd boyfriend, and that's their favorite like Webtoon comic they read every week. And like, if you like that, if you like that, you know, what is it, fan servicey peddling kind of anime, and you don't like, I don't want to say real movies, but like good practices in film.
Movies that are different. This wasn't just shooty shoot movie. It made you think after. Yeah,
if you're that person, power to you, but that's not me. That's not what I'm looking for in a film. I'm looking for a good-ass movie.
Yeah, I feel that. But
I think this movie was like the antithesis of Afro Samurai.
I could feel that, yeah, definitely.
Afro Samurai is just like looking cool and killing guys and big booba and all that stuff, and this movie's about like being fucking sad and seeing people die horribly and political intrigue, and that's it.
Yeah, I wanted to see more, the violence was very visceral, as is, it seems like most things in this world. When you get shot with an LMG by 20 people with LMGs all aiming at you,
fucking explode.
You just kind of fall apart as a person.
Yeah. I think that's going along with that theme of realism, right? Is that they don't want to have like big anime power shot nonsense. They want to have like, this guy has like a British Sten and he's shooting haphazardly at these dudes wearing armor. And then he gets shot with an LMG by 2 different guys and he starts getting riddled with bullets and just starts like flopping around and dying, yeah.
Yeah, so quite a lot of the reviews mentioned that, you know, imagery made it look like this. It wasn't very boring. Don't understand what this movie was trying to say. Skip it. Not like what the picture looks like. A lot of stuff like that. Luddites. It's just people that... I don't know how to say it without sounding like a dick. Like, your
fans of my big fat geeky boyfriend.
My big fat etchy geeky boyfriend. It's just people that this movie is definitely not made for them, and that's not what it's for. And it doesn't feel like almost any of this source material or any of the stuff based in this universe is that. Like, even the first movie, it's almost... We'll have to watch it.
I'd be excited to, yeah.
It's almost like an art house film noir type of thing, because it focuses right after the military police have stopped being a thing, so they're getting disbanded and shit, and it follows a couple of the people that are, like, just horrendous, riddled with PTSD, and, like, they just can't function anymore because they're used to traveling in underground packs and just murdering people by the droves and not having any resistance against them.
Like, on the outset, we can talk about the ending more in depth because that's more interesting, but on the outset, This movie follows a guy, Fuse, who was in, like, there was a bombing in the main street during a protest, and a terrorist went down. She was a girl with, like, a sachet charge, like a bag explosive.
She was a minor is the big thing, though. She was, like, 15, I think they say.
And she was running away, and then he comes upon her, and then she, like, is, like, just looking at each other, and he's like, don't pull it, and then the other guys come up, and they're like, shoot her, and he doesn't shoot her, and she blows herself up, basically.
Right in front of him.
And a lot of the rest of the movie, besides the ending, is him, like, sort of dealing with this, like, people criticizing him, and him having to go back to training and all this stuff in order to, like, I don't know, like, get that killer gaze again, or something like that. There's basically, like, a big separation between the police force, military, and government.
Yes.
Where the governments are kind of trying to kowtow to the people who are asking for them to have more control rather than the military and the police. And one of the main characters in this movie, I don't remember what his name is. I think his name ends with W-I. Do you have the character names there?
Who are you? His buddy?
Yes, his buddy.
I could definitely pull it up while you're looking because I forget his name too.
There was a dude who gave up being one of these, like super soldier guys to form a different branch of the government that was basically like overseeing these guys, and he tried to use this as an excuse to get that whole soldier brigade kind of like pushed under the rug and dissolved and all that stuff.
Instantly,
that's where that's where the political intrigue comes in, because there's people working for someone but also working against them and all this stuff.
Yes. His name is, by the way, Atsushi
Henmi, that was his name. Yeah.
That scene, especially when Fusei comes upon that girl in the sewers, is just haunting. Mm-hmm. Like, he comes upon her first, and they both see each other, and no one's around, and she's just looking at him with, it's very, and I'd be surprised if it wasn't, at least based off in a slight way, it really looks like a Zaku from Gundam. It's got the same glowing red eyes and everything. It's very, very similar. But, she comes upon him, and he kind of just stands there pointing the gun at her, because he doesn't really, he doesn't want to do anything, and I think that's what the whole movie is based around, that he
It's kind of like corruption of... It's kind of like really corrupting that character. That's what this movie is about.
He's not okay for the rest of the movie.
Because I want to talk about the ending more. Getting to the end, right? Like, he's going out with this girl who's supposedly the girl who died's sister. Like, he's hanging out with her a lot.
Yes. She looks identical to her.
He's having, like, bad dreams about stuff. And then the guy we just talked about, Henmi, is that his name?
Yes.
He used her as bait to get him into a situation where it looked like he was taking...
Where it looked like the military police were working with the terrorists against the normal police. I believe that's what that's what it wraps up as.
So at one point, she's like, I need your help. And then he, like, leaves her there in the museum where they keep cutting back to all the wolves standing behind her and shit. Which is, like, pretty blatant imagery, but I mean, I'll cut the movie some slack. And then he basically kills the guys, gets her out of there so they don't capture him. And then he goes to, like, she's like, where are we going? And he, like, gets her out of the city. And they meet up in the sewer where the first shootout happened in the beginning of the movie. And then these people, just normal-ass looking people, and the training guy, the guy who was retraining him to be part of the special police, they all come out and they're all carrying, like, crates
they descend upon the sewers. They find a tracker in her bag.
Yeah, and then they give him the gear to become one of those soldier guys. They give him, like, bits of the armor and the gun and stuff. And then they're like, Henwi's coming with his men, and we don't want this military brigade to be dissolved. We are the Wolf Brigade, and you're gonna kill them all. And he killed all of them in the fucking sewer.
And it's not even so much a power trip as it's just realistic. He's walking around a sewer with an LMG, and these people are are essentially police officers with pistols and rifles and stuff, and he just... I think he takes out 15 or 20 people there. He just eviscerates them.
And then at the very end, he loses the last bit of his humanity because the guy who was training him was like...
Oh, God.
The guy walked up to him, like one of the Wolf Brigade walked up to the girl who was still there, still with them, and he was going to shoot her in the head, and Fuse is like, what the fuck? And then he's like, listen, she's better off to us dead. That way she can't be captured, and we'll just continue on. It'll be fine. So you have to kill her right now. You don't have a choice. And he hands her the gun. And then she's like... she starts. The other thing, part of this movie is they keep talking about a Japanese Red Riding Hood tale.
Yes, yeah.
And she starts saying that to him and crying. And he just shoots her and she dies. And that's the end of the movie. Fuck.
So yeah, what they phrase it as is that she knew that she would have to die sometime, and as it stands, the police don't know if she's with them, and they don't want her to look like they're with them,
and they don't want her captured, so they can tell them who they are.
So the best option for her is to die out here where no one knows, and then that's the end of it. They don't know if they're with her or not with her.
This is a girl that he was, like, fantasizing about.
Yes.
Like, she wanted him to take her away, and they'd all just leave this place or whatever.
Yeah, it's very breaking down a man. Like, he's not okay at the end of this movie. He looks broken.
Well, it's all about, they always talk about, like, the difference between the Wolf Brigade and other people. Like, they talk about the beasts and the humans, and they're like the beasts.
They're the beasts, and they can't integrate with normal people anymore. That's what it was.
They're the ones who are the ones who will get things done because they don't have humanity anymore.
Yes, yeah. They kept on talking about stuff like that. They kept on talking about, like, purity and innocence with the Little Red Riding Hood character. Mm-hmm. And once a character like that is introduced, they have to die, essentially. They won't be able to go back out into the world.
I will say, if I had a slight with this movie, the heavy-handed imagery and implications are a little heady.
You were bringing that on. Yeah, there was a lot of scenes where they were literally standing in front of a brigade.
The same glass case full of stuffed wolves, yeah. Different characters go there, too. Like, Hemi, like, has a scene with another guy in that same fucking area, and they go back, like, 3 or 4 times. It's freaking God. But, he has dreams about wolves and all the beast imagery and, like, the Red Riding Hood stuff and all that stuff, right? Like, it's a little heavy-handed for me.
Little heavy-handed, would you say? I want to listen to some of the radio dramas, because apparently they're in English, and I've heard they're very interesting.
I love radio dramas. I
listened to the, what is it, War of the Worlds one?
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
The old one? Like the one that Orson Welles did?
I believe so, yeah, when I was in grade 9 or 10. They're very interesting. Like, if I was back then, I would have fucking freaked out, dude.
I had to do one for drama class. I think I had to do a couple for drama class. I really like doing them. I think that, like, people always have this need for, like, just audio drama. I think that's why podcasts are so big. But I think there's a couple of podcasts that, like, just rebroadcast old radio plays and stuff. And I like a lot of narrative podcasts that kind of ape that whole design of, like, just a dude telling a story or something. But the War of the Worlds one is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking through, because it just baffles me how big this is in Japan. Like, it's not a small thing, and it feels like you're getting into a secret society if you look any of this stuff up, because so much of it isn't in English. So much of it is just still in Japanese and has never been translated officially.
We were there before all the hordes of stupid Westerners were like, oh, what's this?
I mean, it almost reached it. In 2018, there was a live-action remake in Korea, and tell you, of essentially this film, yeah. It was called Il-Yang, the Wolf Brigade. But Human Wolf is what Il-Yang means. Human
Wolf, the Wolf Brigade.
Yeah, not a catchy name. But the budget for this film, Jim, this is in US. The budget was $17 million. How much do you think they made in box office?
It's popular in Japan, but it still seems pretty niche.
And it's a live-action film.
Oh, you're talking about the live-action one?
Yes.
$500,000.
$6 million. They lost a lot of money. They lost a lot of money.
I don't even understand why they would do that, because it seems like this film is so strong in its style with the animation. Like, why? I feel like you were talking about this before when we talked about
we've talked about other stuff. I bring this up every
Sweet
fucking
Home.
time. I bring this up every time.
But you were talking about what was the last anime? Oh, it was One Punch Man or Mob Psycho or something. You said there was like
when
a live action version.
Mob Psycho, there's a live action, and it fucking pisses me off every time. There's a reason it's animated. It uses the animation strong suit. It uses the features that you can do in animation, like squash and stretch and everything.
Mob Psycho and this movie use them to very different effects too, right? Like, this movie has a lot of visceral action, shots, character things that you couldn't do with live action, right? And Mob Psycho uses a lot of, like, expression and craziness and weird faces and stuff moving around and stuff, right?
Yeah, Mob Psycho would never fucking work in live action. It doesn't matter if you had the amount of CG in the budget as a huge Marvel movie. it doesn't matter.
It just wouldn't work, right?
No, not at all.
No, I agree. What would you say were your favorite parts of this film?
I really liked the ending sequence, and this movie is longer. It's about 2 hours long, I think, but it's
only an hour and 40 or something, but it feels
really?
long.
Yeah.
I think it felt long to me, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, right?
No, not at all.
A movie can feel long, but still, like, I'm like grateful for every minute I spend with it. I feel like I felt that way with this film.
Yeah, a movie can feel long like that, or it can feel long like Blade Runner 2049.
Did you not like that?
Nah.
Did you not?
Nah. How long is it? Like 6 hours long?
It's like 3 hours long.
Oh,
Here's the thing with
that.
the Blade Runner movies. They are both fucking boring, but I think they're good. I feel like the newest one
is cool.
The newest one is also much better and less fucking boring than the first Blade Runner movie.
But yeah, hour 40 minutes long. So I think some of the best sequences for me, I really liked the whole ending scene in the sewers and everything where he's gearing up. And again, he doesn't get into the costume himself. He needs like fucking 4 people to help him into it.
Yeah. It's
a huge ordeal to get into. He's just walking around the sewers. I also really liked when they started going out on dates. Him and not dates, but hanging out. Him and the girl that was supposedly the sister of the girl that died.
Yeah.
It was very awkward. It wasn't tense, but it was just very like.
Well, it would just be
I said it to you. I was like, "Why the fuck's he doing this?" And you were like, "It's punishment for him."
It would be like huge scenes of them just like standing there. Well, I said he was like sadomasochistic.
Yes.
Because like he would go out with this girl and just feel terrible, have nightmares about her and shit, and still go. At a certain point, he knew that she was a spy or something. He knew that.
Yeah.
But he was still going out with her and doing this and just feeling horrible about it. And that's like, he's basically punishing himself for killing this girl, right? By seeing her face again and again and again.
Every single day.
All the time, right? And it would be so weird because they'd have these huge long things where she'd tell a story and he would like grunt or something, and then she'd just like smile and look at him and say like something like encouraging or something.
It'd be like a 5-minute scene of her telling the Red Riding Hood story, and he'd just like say a single word, and then it would cut to him having a horrible nightmare.
Were wolves. That was one of the most visceral parts of this movie. He had a dream where he was like in the sewer following not the girl who died, but her sister, in air quotes.
Yes.
And she was just like running through. And then at a certain point he couldn't get to her. He had to like crawl through a grate, and wolves just started ripping her fucking body apart. And I mean ripping it apart.
Yeah.
Like, it was not nice to look at. It was very good animation, but it looked horrible.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed all this movie, but I loved the scenes where he was at the training facility again.
Or they were shooting rubber bullets at each other.
Yes, and he's bursting through the wood walls and stuff, and he has horrendous PTSD. That's what it is. He sees the trainer and he freezes because he remembers how he saw a 15-year-old woman explode in front of him.
Yeah, I think like the big theme of this movie is that the way that this totalitarian, authoritative, like fascist society is set up is to like make the individual small and grind him down and make him feel nothing, or make him feel like just a cog in the chain. Like at the end, he becomes a beast. He becomes a beast that the government or the Wolf Brigade lets out and like destroys all everything that's against them, right? Like he becomes less than human in this story. Yeah. And that's like a very good commentary on the way fascism and authoritarianism works on people.
Just like working at Walmart.
It's like working at Walmart. I will give you that. Yes, very, very much so.
Walmart was the one job I had when I was in the starting job field that I said I would not work at. I was like, I will not fucking work for Walmart. That was my one caveat.
It's like this movie is like working in late stage capitalism where you can't afford anything and you're working too much and you hate your life.
Oh, I loved it though. I'll be thinking about this movie for a little bit, and I'm sure.
No, it was very interesting. I'd love to have like a physical copy of this and to watch the other movies in this series and just like look it up and all this stuff. Like, I'd love to see it. Because it was intriguing. I definitely
want to do that as well. I want to look up some of the manga. I'm sure there's translations of it and lots of comics and stuff.
Very rarely, like you were saying before, but very rarely do I sit and watch a movie and I'm pointing at stuff and being like, oh, like you see that, like that car, and you see that gun, and you see like the way the streets are set up, and you see their clothes and stuff. And like this movie did that for me. It was so interesting to me
Look, Dan, there's a Blarschlager. It's a gun they used in World War One.
Well, even beside the guns, right? Like, I like guns from World War II. I think my gun knowledge goes from, like, the 1500s to, like, 1950, and then it stops because modern guns aren't as fun to me. But even beyond that, like, the way they're, like, all that stuff just came together so well. I was just so interested in this world and what was going on. And I wanted to say, too, this was, like, the antithesis of something like Warhammer 40K, where Warhammer is like, at the outset, it was supposed to be like, haha, this is a fun game, blah, 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 when it was made. And now it's like, just like fascist and like, has a lot of bad shit in it. And it just like is grimdark now. And that's why people like it. And this movie was kind of like the antithesis of that, where it actually showed you like why that some stuff is bad. Yeah. And how these things happen and how these machines, like the machine of government in situations like this, work against itself, basically.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I will definitely watch it again. I also wanted to bring up, I bet this movie is like a $500 Blu-ray copy. I bet you can't fucking get it anywhere.
I'm going to look it up right now. Give me your ending thoughts on this movie while I look it up.
My ending thoughts, you can watch it for free, weirdly, on Crunchyroll. I thought it would kind of be a bitch to find this movie, but you can watch it on Crunchyroll, and it has sub and dub, which is another rare thing for Crunchyroll to have. Definitely watch it. If you're listening to this, you probably have Crunchyroll. I'm sure there's a lot of overlap of people that listen to our stuff.
I hated the website, so I didn't keep it. It is actually only $70, which is way lower than I thought it would be.
Wow, really? Me too.
Yeah.
This feels like one of those movies that there's like 8 copies floating around. I'll see it at that one movie place at that at the mall, and it'll be like
at Cinema One.
Cinema One, that's what it's called, and it'll be like $180, and it'll say staff pick.
I think I've talked about this before, but I have a big movie collection. I have like 800 plus DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff, but 90% of them are used. I always buy used at
I can feel that.
Game Cycle and Music and Video Place when it was open and shit like that. And there's a good store in our town called The Beat Goes On. Very rarely, like, it has to take a special movie like The Lighthouse or Hunt for the Wilder People or something like that, where I actually go out and buy it new, right? Like, it takes a special movie like that for me to buy it. Yeah. But I would say this movie is good enough where I'm going to put this on my wish list and see if it goes down, actually.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely watch it. It's know what you're getting into. It's not going to be a movie you talk through, and it's not going to be a movie
If you like Naruto, this probably is not the movie for you. But you've got
to be in the right mood for it, too, I would say.
It's very
You'll
somber.
know if it's for you.
Yeah. I would say that if you have an avid interest in cinema, or if you like heady movies, like if you like serious movies, this would be a good movie to watch.
Yeah, 100%. Jim, I'm excited. I'm excited because I don't know what you're picking. Do you know what you're picking?
Oh, fuck. I didn't think of it till right now. I need to think of something really quick. I had a bunch of picks and stuff, but I just need to think for a second.
Jim smashing his head between his hands. I need to think.
Fuck. I had, like, thoughts, but I literally, this came up so quickly that I was like, fuck, what do I do? Vamp, Dan. I might cut a lot of this out, but I need to
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I had a thought of it, but I just need to think for a second. You know what I want to do?
What?
You know what I want to do, Dan?
What?
Let's get Brandon and Patrick, and let's talk about Deep Rock.
I'd be down for that. I was just looking, update 35. I know we talked about it in Discord, but yeah, delayed to Q4.
Next episode, we're going to get, if not both of them, one of them, because I know Patrick's busy with school. Yes. But we're going to have another multi-episode, and we'll get some guys together, and we'll talk about Deep Rock Galactic. Because we've talked about it before, but I really want to talk about it
for the whole thing. Yeah, I could talk about it for the whole thing.
Yeah, I feel like that's an episode where I'm going to have to be like, time out. We need to stop the episode. It's like 50 minutes in, so yeah. Be excited for that, listeners. But since I had to think of that, Dandino, you're going to take us out here. What are you doing?
Oh, Jim, I'm going to talk about Gloomhaven and just cut me out because I'm so excited for Frosthaven.
Okay.
There's a character in Frosthaven that you control 2 characters at once, and the cards are identified as left or right, and you have to play them in specific orders to control your left half of your body and your right half of your body. And that's an actual gameplay mechanic.
Good night, darling.
Goodbye, Jim.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Dan.
Good night, everybody.
お前だって人間じゃねえか！